All right, so we're here again with our Period 3 Algebra 2 Dr. Holden's class, getting ready for our final, which we believe is Wednesday at 10, May 29th. All right, sometime next week. Excellent. So we have a function here, f of x equals 5x squared plus 6x plus 2, and we're going to use the quadratic formula to solve for this. All right? So what is the quadratic formula? Okay. Very good. No song needed. Well done. It's just so much more fun to sing. Also, as a gift to those of you that go to my YouTube page, all right, there is a video from when I was 24 or 5, much younger, all right, a lot more hair, where I did a little remix to the Quadratic Formula song. All right, so search for it. You'll find it. You'll love it. Okay, you're welcome. All right, so let's figure out what A is. What is A? A is 5. Very good, Martin. What about B? 6. And C is 2. All right. I always tell students, even if you're a pro at this and you feel confident, it's not a bad idea to write down what A, B, and C are. Make sure that you have the correct symbols. In this case, everything was positive, so all my numbers are positive. But if you have subtraction or negatives, make sure you put those in. All right, that does matter. Okay, so we have x equals the opposite of B. Well, if 6 is B, what is the opposite of 6? So we have negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 6 squared minus 4 times 5 times 2. Yes?
So if 6 was to be negative, would it become positive?
If 6 was negative, then this would become positive, and make sure in these parentheses you would have a negative. Now, because you're squaring it, Brittany, it wouldn't really matter, but I want to make sure right is right. If it's a negative, it should be negative in those parentheses. Now, if you're using the calculators on the test next week, make sure that if you do have a negative, it matters if you put the parentheses around it. So always put those parentheses. Because if you put in your calculator negative 6 squared without parentheses, it's going to spit out negative 36. Because order of operations says to do the square first and then make it the opposite. So make sure you've got those parentheses. All right? If you don't know what I said, then you'll mess up. Okay, over 2 times 5. Excellent. All right, let's get some simplifying going. I should have told you to write small on this problem. Okay, let's see if we can do this in our head. What's 6 squared? Excellent. What's 4 times 5 times 2?
40. Wait, negative 40.
Well, that's fine. I only said 4 times 5 times 2. So it is 40. So what's 36 minus 40? Very good. So I have plus or minus the square root of negative 4. Oh, no! The square root of negative 4? Oh, I can't do that. Why can't we do that? Can't take a square root of a negative. All right, so you'll have to know what that means when you're doing this on your final. All over 10. Now, what do I need to have here if I have the square root of a negative number? You need the letter I. So I'm going to write, let's go up here. X equals negative 6 plus or minus. Now we know the square root of 4. What is the square root of 4? It's 2, but it's not the square root of 4. It's the square root of negative 4. So we need to put 2i. All over 10. So this is the answer. If you're doing a multiple choice exam, this may not be one of the answer choices. Why not? Even though this is right. Because why? Why would this possibly not be there? Because it's not done. Why is it not done? Now it doesn't have, this is my variable x. We're saying this x is equal to this, so if you plug it in here, you'll make 0. Do you guys see the negative 6, the 2, and the 10? Those 3 numbers can all be divided by 2. The negative 6, the 2, and the 10. So let's do that. What's negative 6 divided by 2? Negative 3. What's 2i divided by 2? 1i. We've lost one. And then what's 10 divided by 2? 5. So this is what you would see on the final, if it was multiple choice, which I think it is, some of it. Yeah, he told you it is. Okay. All right, any questions on this example for 27 and 28? We'll say it again. Yeah, like this one? Okay, so what if it had been like the square root of negative 5? Then you would just have I times the square root of 5. All right, so if you can't take the square root of it, then, but you might be able to just simplify it, right? What if it was the square root of 20, right? The square root of 20 can simplify to 2 times the square root of 5. So you could simplify in that way.
Why do you have to put I on?
Why do you have to put I on there? Does anyone know why you have to put I? It takes out the negative. Do you know why this was discovered multiple centuries ago? No? My goodness. So much math you guys didn't even learn about. The history. Oh my gosh. I love the history of it. So mathematicians got to this point and said, uh-oh, I don't know what to do, right? Because negative 1 times negative 1 is 1, and positive 1 times 1 is 1. So they realized that this right here was a problem. All right? So what mathematicians came up with is if we say I equals the square root of a negative 1, it will allow us to continue with our math, even though we know you can't do that. All right? So this introduced a completely new set of numbers called imaginary numbers. All right, so that problem we just did, Mauro, if mathematicians had not come up with imaginary numbers, we could not have gone further than this. But because of them, hundreds of years ago, we get to do this.
You have to simplify
Yeah, so if you look at the first number, the number that's after the plus or minus, and your denominator, and they all can be divided by a number, you should do it.
You would put that number that you divide.
Yes, so like I did that. I divided all of them by 2. That was the simplifying part. But if you used a calculator, all of this would be the same, right? It's the same thing as saying 3 over 6 and 1 over 2. They mean the same thing. One is simplified, one's not. All right. Any other questions? I love these great questions. All right, let's go ahead and